I've got these little studs forged. They're ready to be riveted on. Once we have holes in our hoops, got a 10mm hole there. This one's ready for a hole. Sadly, after Joe tweaked with the middle one to get it to the right size, and even after I've tried to shuffle with it as well, it's just too big. So while I now TIG weld up the box that Joe has cut up, ready to be TIG welded, Joe is gonna forge another pouring hoop to replace that middle one. And so we're giving it the old switcheroo, and I'm working on the sandbox.
So I have 4 little small pieces of angle iron, and these are going to serve as our locating thingamawhatsits. We'll have a pin TIG welded into the backside of one of them on either side, boom. Just like the one that Joey made yesterday in the previous part, we'll be able to index everything rather fantastically here with this box. You'll also see in the inside, I've welded these bits of flat stock. That flat stock there is going to serve to help hold the sand in place. Also helps just rigidize everything a little bit, since this material's a little bit thin. You know, I would have liked to have had some material that's a little bit narrower and have a little more of it. Could have made a wider box, a little less depth. But frankly, this is going to be, I hope, a great way to get started with our casting. And speaking of casting, I want to try
and open up our cast refractory. Let's see how well it is set. And the brick. So let's cut into it and try and take it apart. I don't think I'm going to be able to use this bucket anymore. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get rid of the bucket so that I could access these holes and then kind of carve them out and get rid of the steel that was in there. And I'm down here trying to get rid of this last bit of plastic to access the last one. And then I notice that it is all coming apart right up here. I messed up big time thinking this was a good idea. Oh boy, look at that. That's a crack and a half. That is terrible and a very, very big problem. So I'm gonna put thinking about that on hold for a second. What I definitely know for sure is that I'm sure I could have avoided this with probably a total of 2 hours extra prep time. Isn't that funny? It's so funny how I completely made an absolutely terrible calculation, and if I'd delayed the gratification of getting that stuff poured 2 hours, I'm sure I could have worked out a much better way to do that. And if I had worked out a better way to do that, I wouldn't have had to remove the bucket so soon and have that crack form. Ooh, that stings, that stings. However, at the end of the day, this problem is something that is going to easily be solved with time and like 200 pounds of refractory cement. So, that mistake and that lesson stings, it bites. It's not the greatest sensation in the world. I'd love to be able to say that I was smart all the time. I'm absolutely not. And indeed, my impatience gets the better of me. So, while I work out the better way of doing all of that so that it can be tackled next week, I'm going to work on the sandbox again, because the sandbox is TIG welding, and TIG welding's fun. Here we go. Sadly, begrudgingly, my idiocy and my lack of just kind of doing it the right way. Now, what would be the right way? This is what I think it is that I'm gonna do to make it a much better way. Instead of using a bucket, I'm gonna try and take some plywood and I'm gonna make an actual wooden mold that'll be much more rigid, and I'll find a way to hold it in place a lot better. I'm gonna make up some sacrificial steel sleeves that I'll actually leave in there and have them mate up perfectly onto the wood so that those steel sleeves can stay in there even while the furnace is being used. They'll melt away. It doesn't really matter. I should have gone with that in the first place. And then once it's all cast, I'll leave it a really nice long time, 48 hours, make sure it's all set before I then light a fire in it and burn out the plywood. It seems like a really, really reasonable way of going about it. However, silly me, didn't want to do it the first time. I wanted to use a plastic bucket and some hammer billets. Oh well, we live and learn. Oh boy, that doesn't feel good to do. That hurt, that breaks my heart. Woo! Hey! Looks like we've got ourselves an opportunity to go back in time 2 days and start all over again on the Foundry. Thank you for watching. It's always fun bringing you along with the projects, even when I'm a numpty and I decide to cut corners and make things easier, which always ends up making them more difficult. Lessons learnt.
Take the extra 2 hours, do things the right way. Hopefully next time I'm going to do things the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to follow along with the journey of trying to cast metal for the first time. It's going to be next week that we cast it, so you're going to want to make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Joey's channel too. His channel link's in the description below. I'll be talking to you soon on the next episode.